everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Has it just pretended to be dead? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Look at that little zebra about to be born. There's the head. Oh, you clever mare. Well done.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome on board, and good morning to you all on this wonderful Valentine's Day from around the world. Hello, everybody. I hope you are having a blessed morning so far. It is raining, it is wet, it is miserable, but we're going to have so much fun out here this morning. We're probably going to get wet. That is a no-brainer, but let's go out there and see if we can find you some beautiful animals. Now, it is myself out, Lauren is out and about, and everybody else apart from Deirdre in Tswalu Kalahari is undercovers. So on that note, we welcome you on board your live African safari. Hello, everybody, and welcome on board. We found some impalas. Goodness gracious, animals to start the morning. How are we all doing? Happy Valentine's Day to you all. My name is Steve Falconbridge, and I am joined by Paul on camera this morning, and we are delighted to have you with us on this very wet Sunday morning. Now, with these impalas out in the open, we are going to probably be jumping from whatever animals we can find to see what we can find. I'm going to head down towards Chitwa again, see if there's any sign of Tundi. Now, bearing in mind there is a bit of rain on the horizon. It says 72% chance, 79% chance, but it is 22 degrees Celsius, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And as always, we'd love to hear from you, so send through any questions you might have. Hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream using @FC, or if you're under the age of 18, please get your parents or guardians to send through an email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Now, if you haven't done so already, you can go over to the website and register, where you can go to the live safari page and submit your questions there. Now, I wonder if any of these lady impala are going to be receiving any Valentine's Day gifts. Many of them have had babies just in November time. You'd think there'd be some romance coming into their lives shortly, but the male impalas soon are just going to be making these very strange sounds. Not very romantic sounds, but nonetheless, it seems to do it for the ladies. So each their own, everybody. I don't think impalas would know what to do with a box of chocolates or a bouquet of roses. They'll probably eat them. Roses are edible, aren't they? Beautiful and sweet. Yes, indeed. It's going to be one of those mornings, everybody. There's going to be lots of humor, lots of light-hearted humor, maybe a dad joke or two to keep us going through the morning. But it feels like the rain seems to have stopped pitter-pattering on our heads for now. As one of the males, I said, will be making lots of strange sounds before. If you've never heard an impala making a strange sound, you're going to have to wait and see. Because in the coming weeks, they're going to start demarcating territories. We already saw a group of them in Buffelshoek yesterday. It's quite interesting how geographically, even though Buffelshoek is just up the drag, I spoke too soon, here comes the rain again, just up the drag, geographically the males start doing things differently. Be interested to compare the difference between Pridelands and andBeyond and Ngala, and even andBeyond Phinda, to see when their impala start making the first noises. So let's try make a note of that, everybody. When do we get our first roaring impala noises? And which property will it happen at first? I reckon it'll probably happen at Pridelands first, followed by Ngala, followed by us, and then Phinda, andBeyond Phinda could be a complete wild card. They could either be first or last. I don't really know. So this morning, due to the weather conditions, we would love your questions to be really nice and discussionary James, we'll find your waterbuck. I'm going to Chitwa, and we'll find the lovely heart-shaped noses of the waterbucks. I was also quite keen to maybe follow up on just our northern boundary, see if maybe the Telematis have come in. They were on Buffelshoek last night, right on the west, in an area we aren't able to sort of get any signal at, and it's possible they might just pop down. We do know that in these conditions they do like to come to quarantine and to the dam cam and give their moment of fame on the camera there. The wind is coming from the south and the east-ish, more south right now. You'd expect them to have followed that slightly. So I was going to go to Chitwa. I'm actually going to go and just check our northern boundary and see that they haven't come in because, well, lions in the wet would be quite exciting. That is one of our Djuma guests. He's also... Oh, did you hear that Apollo contact call? Oh. The females have got almost as beautiful voices as the males. The contact calls because the females lose their lambs sometimes. Such a funny sound. Okay, well, it's raining everywhere. If you don't believe me, let's go have a look at the weather.
Good morning, everyone. In case you haven't realized, it's raining. It's very, very wet. But anyway, my name is Lauren. I do have Dobby on camera, and happy Valentine's Day. Not really a real day, is it? But it has inspired me since a very wet and rainy day to maybe talk about love in the animal kingdom. And there's no such thing really, but we can talk about social structure, sexual selection, and exactly why some animals operate the way we do. So that's what we're going to do. Darby, would you like to be my Valentine?
I'd love to.
Oh, he said yes. Okay, we're almost at the hyena. Literally seconds away from it. I don't have too much hope. If I was a hyena, I would be tucked inside, but let's see, let's try. We're not really having much luck in the morning these days, and I think it's because A, the weather, and 2, we're going out a little bit later than we used to, but you never know. I like to check, I like to try and understand their pattern, their movements, but I don't think anybody's going to be here. Of course, you know the score. If they're not, we just immediately pull out and leave. We don't hang around an empty den site. Just as I thought, nobody is home. I always just check, if they had a carcass here, everyone would be out and everyone would be very active. So we're now going to pull out, and at least we've checked that for this morning. So we may struggle a little bit with our traverse today, so I don't actually know what my plan is. I think bumbling is the way to go this morning. The rain, of course, is going to make it very difficult to pick up on. I think bumbling is the way to go this morning. The rain, of course, is going to make it very difficult to pick up on any tracks. It's not actually giving the predators the chance to come and mark. So their scent travels in fluid. Even in feces, it's in fluid, and it's a chemical code that they mark to tell everyone that this is their territory. It's an odor fence to warn intruders, don't come in. Intruders can come in, but it's at their own at their own risk. Now, the rain will wash most of that away, especially the rain we've been having. It's extremely relentless. It's just really not stopping. And warn intruders, don't come in. Intruders can come in, but it's at their that soon adds up naturally. So normally when it dries up and that sun comes back out, you will find the predators that do heavily scent mark, territorial, be it your lions and your leopards. They will be on the move again. They've got to re-scent mark. They've got to ensure that everyone knows this territory is still there, so nothing has changed. But sadly, they're not going to do that as it's still raining. and on ground like this, it's almost impossible to see anything, really. But we'll do our very best. We may have a soggy, wet bird competition for this morning. So I'm going to bumble and try and stay dry, and you guys are going to go back across to Steve with his impala.
Good luck trying to stay dry there, Lauren. I think the slower we move, the drier we will stay. But it also feels as if this might lift slightly at some point. So, okay, that's Lauren updating on the radio that the hyena den is not active. So these wonderful impalas, everybody. You know, when you find you are struggling for content, there's nothing wrong with stopping and doing many segments on impalas, because they are actually very pretty. And if we go just into the left here with all these young boys, now all these young boys, you can see the horns are all the same length. These ones right in front of us. They were all born in the year before last November. It's very easy to age impala boys because their horns all grow at the same rate. And so they were all born in the November year before last. And generally, a male slightly older than them, a year older, wouldn't be allowed in this group. And now as the next rut arrives, as soon as the next rut arrives, they're going to be pushed out completely. So you start getting these little bachelor groups of males that from only a year and a half, 2 years of age, they're suddenly all on their own doing what they need to do. And hanging out in groups, of course, is highly beneficial. We spoke a lot about it yesterday morning. We had quite a few impala segments in the rain. And, one of the questions I was asked is there a leader? And by no means is there a leader. The herd mentality is stand in the middle of the herd, and the predator will... There's a couple of oxpeckers. One is a juvenile on the bottom with... I think it's that juvenile. No, it's both adults. There's an adult male impala. He's going to start getting quite feisty. You'll see he's going to start pushing animals around and pushing with his head. But staying in groups is very beneficial. Enables you to keep your head down and feed. If you're on your own, imagine being out here on your own all day and night long, everybody. Do you think you'd ever be able to rest? And Bo, would you be able to rest out here on your own? You wouldn't, eh? And Bo's just lucky or happy he can close a door and can go to sleep at night. Otherwise, there would be no rest. Everett? He just laughs, no rest. Okay, so I'm trying to get an idea of, you can see this plant, it's all around the impalas. If you just sort of go a little bit left and follow that line, all these yellow leaves. It's a type of cedar, S-I-D-A. I think it's a plant from India. I'm going to wait for it to flower to get the exact species, but for some reason it's everywhere this year. The whole of quarantine, and even a friend of mine took a photo down in Londolozi. It's all there as well. So it seems to have just emerged. I don't know. I don't recall seeing a lot of it the last while, but this year, if we just look across this landscape, it's everywhere. Everywhere. And it possibly could be an invasive plant from India. Nothing seems to eat it. The reason why it goes yellow like that is if you've ever tried to grow vegetables in your garden and your veggies go a little bit yellow, there's a nitrogen deficiency in the plant. So that's generally what the yellowness in a plant means, is there's a lack of nitrogen. So you need to put nitrogen in or have nitrates, do something. And so being up here on the top of the slope of quarantine, it's a very leached, sandy soil. There's not too many nitrogen fixes around on the top here, so it's possible that this plant is struggling a bit from a nitrogen point of view. But it still seems to be proliferating and doing relatively okay. So we've got to wait for the flower to find out exactly. But if any of you know, by looking at it, please do tell. Please do tell. But last night, there was a plant that Mpo and I found as well down the road that I'm going to go and have a look at. I'm sure I'll be able to find it again. It was a wonderful little creeper. with these incredible little flowers that I've never seen before. I even sent the picture to a friend of mine. Oh goodness, this rain is unrelenting. I sent it to a friend of mine, and he doesn't know what it is, so I might have to go back again and find it and show it to all of you. Do you know there are some incredible botanists that watch the show that have helped me identify quite a few plants in the past. Just waves and waves of rain. That's about all the impala can do, is just stand behind a bush. Okay, well, we're probably going to stay here for another moment or two and see what happens with this group of impala.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
We stopped as the dusk was settling, and there was a zebra mare underneath the bush. She was lying down. We didn't really know what was happening, and then we saw it.
Everybody, there's a zebra giving birth there. There's a zebra giving birth. This is a zebra giving birth. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, you clever mare. Well done. It's born, everyone. It's born and it's alive and it looks fine.
This was, of course, an unusual sighting. Normally, herbivores like impala and wildebeest and zebra will give birth during the middle of the day. This is when their predators like lions and hyenas are fast asleep. But as this little foal took its first steps, the dying embers of the day had just gone over the western horizon, and it was just the time that the hyenas and lions were starting to get active and go out foraging. This is why we didn't light up the sighting, of course. It may have compromised the zebra's eyes and at the same time attracted those hyenas and lions to the activity.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Sometimes when it's raining, you just have to get wet. It's just like that saying, when life gives you lemons, make a gin, or something like that. I've came here to try and see if I can see any insects clinging on. I showed a diagram yesterday of dragonflies, communal dragonflies, who roost together at night time, and they cling on to the branches all together to sort of hide, stay safe, be alert. And I don't see anything. Can you believe it? The rain is really picking up here. The skies are very, very heavy. I'm not sure what's in store, but I did have a dragonfly, but unfortunately, Davy, I have him. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it. Okay, let me describe. You see this fallen over tree here? At the very end, it forks. And on the fork closer to us, on the left-hand side, there's a dragonfly, a wet dragonfly. I wonder if I can drive closer, and then maybe we'll get some incredible views. Okay, Lauren, I made it. You see him, Dov?
Yeah, I got it.
Should we get closer?
Let's.
Okay. I'm just going to wipe my face on this smelly old towel we have here. Okay, let's see if we can get some lovely close-up views of this dragonfly. I think it's a southern banded groundling, but a very unique of seconds. How is this? Let's see if we can get a wet dragonfly for you all. Aha! You can see the water drop behind it. It's not that things are raining. They just hide this dragonfly. I think it's a banded grundling. I think it's clearly not hiding. Now I'm just going to me rummaging in my box. It is so disorganized. I'm actually ashamed. I'll definitely confirm what species it is for you. We see with males and females. Males have claspers, very similar to sharks, and always comes in pairs, so you won't have a clasper, it's always claspers. I think this could be the female. Okay, so we're going to sit here with this white dragonfly, and we're now going to send you across to Steve.
Well, everybody, we've got some very smart ox pickers that are feeding and sheltering at the same time. So we discussed yesterday about finding shelter. These fellows are got the best way. Let's hide underneath the body of an impala. A bit of a clean of the belly today. That's what you call an opportunist, making most of the situation. And they're not just sitting at home going, oh, I'm wet and I'm miserable. No, they're still feeding and still going about their job. But they're doing so in a very clever manner. I think that's rather smart. Rather smart indeed. Well, stuck in bed, first of all, the ground gets very slippery. You'll often find all these animals being up on the slopes because the ground here is quite sandy. There's a lot more grip. So, first of all, slipping when you're a hoofed animal is a reality. So they become a bit easier to hunt. The rain mutes the movement of predators, mutes the smell. And while lots of rain can lead to flooding, so any animal that lives in a burrow has got potential shortfalls of that design. It's a obviously very successful ability or attribute to be able to den in burrows, but if it floods and you can't move your babies, unfortunately that could be devastating. But as I've said many times before, the rain is a natural occurrence, everybody. These animals are well adapted to it, and those that don't do well don't survive, and that genetic trait is lost. So let's move up a bit, go and get the rest of the herd around the corner there, and we'll slowly slide on down the hill and see if I can find that other plant. Unfortunately, we have another issue with our big tower on the western side of Djuma. Going to make some of our movement a little bit tricky. I'm going to check the dam as well. Look at all of them, beautiful, aren't they? Out in the open. Misha, those black things on the back of the ankles, the metatarsal glands, there's quite a few discussions that the impala actually give off a scent off of that gland when they run to enable them to all follow each other. I've never found that a scientific article to prove it. Sort of like an attraction sort of story, so everybody knows how to find each other. But then you'd think to yourself, but then surely the predators would just follow that as well. But it makes sense that it's on the back legs to push out a sort of something. But it also might add to some confusion when the animal's running. Goodness, Lauren, what are you... Lauren just went, yay, on the radio. I wonder what Lauren's got with her yay. I'm going to turn my radio down before we ruin whatever surprise that might be. There's another name for them. I'm trying to think of the name again. It's got a very specific name. Gosh, fetlock gland. There we go, the fetlock gland. Where did I get metatarsal from? I don't know. Sometimes the brain doesn't always operate on 100% function. In the rainy weather, there's a few short wires. Yeah, I may even write in fetlock. I think I'm having a complete mistake. Something's not sounding right in that regard. Please, out there, my lovely audience, correct me today. Help me to correctly identify the name of those black puffs on the back of the impala's back ankles. I think it's fetlock, but I'm They are stamping their back legs a lot. What's going on, impalas? Why are you so skittish? I'm going to do a little turnaround quarantine. I don't think someone's done the western side of quarantine. Let's just go and see why these impalas are so jumpy. We know that Tlalamba loves to come to quarantine and hunt these impalas when it rains. Haven't seen her in ages. She seems to be carving out a piece of her own territory in Buffelshoek. Metatarsal gland. Thank you, everybody. Fetlock is something in horses, isn't it? I'm not sure. Metatarsal gland. Thank you, everybody. My first assumption was right. I do appreciate it. And yeah, there's the theory behind it that it gives off it's a gland, so it gives off some form of pheromone or secretion. And obviously when the animal pumps its legs, it lets more out, almost like if you took a sock with a powder in it and you shook it, it sort of left a residue in the air, I suppose. But I think it's one of those scientific things that aren't really, really well known, you know. It makes sense, though, for everybody to follow each other, to stay in a group. And maybe in the night, it's easier for them to do so. You see this little jumpiness. This is not skittish behavior. This is just they are cold and they're trying to warm up. But there might be a bit of skittishness to it, although there were lots of feeding when we found the herd. As soon as one starts running and jumping, everyone starts running and jumping. It just is the way of the animals. They're like, why is everybody moving that way? Let me go. I don't want to be the only one standing here. You know that feeling when you're at a party and you go to the bathroom and you come back and everybody's gone and all you can hear is crickets? Grr, 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 grr. And then you check your phone and your phone is dead and you can't even call an Uber. That's a really fun evening then. Hey, Paul, that's a really fun evening then. Hopefully that doesn't happen to any of you on this Valentine's Day. It is going to be a morning full of humour. So keep the questions and comments coming through. Beverly, all of the large raptors and storks, large birds, all pair for life. Even the smaller raptors will pair for life. Jackal, bat-eared fox, I believe. What else? Definitely not these fellows. He's like, I'm the last one at the party. You'll see, this group here on the left are all going to suddenly realize they're the only ones left, and then they're all going to bolt. What else? Pairs for life. Deka, Steenbok, sort of the small territorial antelope, the small territorial dog-like species, jackal. I'm not sure about foxes. I don't know a lot about foxes, but I would assume that they do as well. I mean, in wild dogs, you get the alpha male and female, which do pair for quite some time. Whether you regard that as a life bond, because they're in a pack, in a family, is hard to say. But generally, all of our small birds, we talk about monogamy in small birds can be a season, can be half a season, can be a couple of seasons. Doesn't necessarily... There we go, there's the crickets again. Doesn't necessarily mean that that hornbill mated this year with that female is going to be so lucky the next year. He's going to have to prove himself again. He's going to have to provide her with Valentine's Day gifts and insects and nuptial gifts. But he might be the provider. He might be the provider and be again next year. Let's go check Western Quarantine. Okay, well, fireside chat went down last night. Let's go over to Deirdre to say good morning and have a little update.
That's good, Good morning from Tswalu. I'm Deirdre, and on camera with me this morning is Morgan. And we're also just bumbling at this stage. It's definitely feeling like winter. I was just saying to Morgan, each morning we've gone out for the last week, it's slightly colder. This morning I contemplated putting on another jacket. But it's definitely got a little bit of a bite in the air. The sun is just starting to peek up over the mountains. Unfortunately, there's a tree in the way. But the birds are busy. The dawn chorus is starting. And at least for today, it doesn't look like we've had rain, or we're going to have rain. We had some more rain again yesterday. Literally in 1 hour, there was one area that received 32 mils of rain, and the little sprait, or little riverbed, came down in full force. So somewhere in there is what we are looking for this morning. I can hear the little quails calling, the wick, 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 wick. Apparently all the viewers said that they enjoyed the fireside chat last night. I must say, I still smell, my jacket still smells like a fireside chat. There was, clearly I need to work on my fire skills. I think I made more smoke than I made fire, but we're glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure all the viewers were happy to see Dylan back on air for his brief cameo. If I go forward, forward by literally 15 meters. Maybe Morgan can show you the sunrise. The tree was in the way. There we go. Oh, that golden color on those sour grasses looks gorgeous. There it is. So definitely starting to be 1 or 2 degrees colder each and every morning, and the sun also itself is getting up later. So remember that you can engage with us at hashtag WildEarth and put at FC in front of your question, and I believe it's us and Djuma so far this morning. So between Steve, Lauren and myself, we can see what we can answer. Oh, those colours are just getting more and more bright. Beautiful. Gigi is asking a question if it's always this cold at this time of the year. It's starting to go into winter, so the length of day and night is definitely, the length of day is shortening. We're heading into the start of winter, but come the end of April, beginning of May, we're definitely in sort of full winter. But just that sun coming up, that fraction later, but we still go out at 6 in the morning, that's where we sort of changing the temperature window for us. So over the next couple of months, it will change. There's something down the road. Maybe I can just see a shape. I can't see what it is. Maybe Morgan can show you with the camera. It's going to be a big zoom. It's far down the road, but the sunshine is shining on it. It's on the left side of the road, all the way down there. Oh, it's a roan. Oh, beautiful. I wonder how long he's going to stay there. Maybe we can drive down towards him a little bit closer, but he is quite far. But let's go see if we can get a slightly closer look. We'll drive in that direction, but you can see how far away he is. The sun was shining on him, so it made him quite bright, easy to see. So that's the second largest antelope. We have the largest here as well. We've got the eland, which tends to be quite camera shy, actually. We've tried in the last few days to put some eland on, and I think we've only managed once. So that is a roan bull, a male. Oh, he's standing still, so this is good. This is good progress. He's probably also just enjoying the morning sun on his flank. But he is focused on us. He's seen us. It's a bit difficult now because he may see us as a predator of sorts or something that might threaten him. Because we are approaching him. Apparently everybody is saying that Tswalu always looks like a painting. Yeah, the roan himself looks like he's got a painting on. There he goes. He was itching and scratching. It probably got bitten by a fly because he moved pretty quickly, but he's ran across to the right. Maybe we could get him in the picture shortly. We've probably just got to go past that big boskia tree and then see if we have another view. Yeah, I see his face. He hasn't gone far. He's literally just stopped in what would be a perfect gap if he stands still. There we go. Ta-da! Stay. Oh, isn't he beautiful? He's also got beautiful facial markings. Incredibly long ears. No. Oh. And clearly he's hungry. He's having breakfast. We'll just go forward a little bit. He doesn't seem to be... They're eating a lot of these creepers at the moment, sort of hangs out of their mouth a bit like spaghetti. He's got a nice grass there. So they're sort of mixed feeders. They'll feed on whatever is more available and more nutritious at the time of the year. But at the moment, definitely a lot of the creepers are their favorite choice. But I mean, the ears are almost half the length of their horns. Impala is commenting she loves his face mask. It is very pretty. There will be a purpose for that, in that they have the black and white markings will help reduce the glare, as well as help regulate temperature. He's quite cooperative. Good morning. No, stay there. That was it. He sort of bowed his head up and down once or twice and turned around and walked away. So I think he's done with TV for today. Exit stage right. And yeah, we'll just carry on down the road and see what else we can find. It was nice of him to pop out there and say good morning. So those very elaborate facial markings, you have the black on the face helps reduce glare, and you can imagine in the arid environments, in areas that are very, very sandy, it needs to reflect the sun away from the face. Those colours, just the sort of yellow glow in the grasses on the left-hand side is really, really pretty as we go. But yeah, grasses are definitely proving challenging for us to find some of the smaller animals. I think probably challenging for the smaller animals to find each other as well at this stage. But we haven't seen grass cover like this in the Kalahari for many years, so we're quite happy with that. We're getting up to an area where there is quite a few little squirrel burrows. I know that there's some ground squirrels. JJ is asking a good question. Would any of the grazers select the sour grass? So yes, they do, but before it starts to flower. When it's just fresh green shoots and leaves, before it starts to flower, it hasn't started to get sticky yet. But as soon as it starts going sticky and that inflorescence starts on the seed, or the grass seeds start, then the animals tend to leave it alone. That it starts burning their lips if they eat too much of it. So then they focus on other things. So certainly when the sour grass is young and the shoots are sort of nice and tender, then the animals will eat those. So we just got to look carefully. The little ground squirrels live here. There's a family of about 4 or 5. It just depends on whether they're out yet. But the sun's out, so they should be out. We're just having a look. Squirrel, squirrel, no squirrel. Nope. Nobody's out yet for the squirrels. So Arlene is asking the question, what is the average weight of a roan antelope? So well over 250 kilograms, which I suppose, let me go back. It's never, I'm just going to go backwards for Morgan and the camera, because this roan's walked all the way down the road, but he's left us some really nice clues, other than the pile of poop. But what I wanted to show is the tracks, actually the size, the physical size of the tracks. Morgan, you're just going to have to tell me what's happening, questions-wise, because I'm here, but I don't know which tracks you can see. If you want to zoom in on one set, you're maybe there by the so this is my first official knowing 100% that that's roan poop, because that is very fresh. And just look at, I mean, we saw him not even 200 meters down the road, and look how many flies are on those droppings already. So it just shows you how smell so quickly for the insects, they come to that. But then the roan, you're just seeing these massive feet. I mean, that's if I get out a Leatherman, that's always handy, because a Leatherman on average is 10 centimeters. So it's more than my Leatherman by at least another 3 centimeters. So you're dealing with, or you got an animal footprint here that's more than 13 centimeters in length, and if I go to the back one, more than 10 centimeters in width. So that's pretty impressive to hold and carry that heavy weight. I'm just unplugged at this stage, so if there is a question, Morgan's going to feed it to me. Nobody's got any questions about their own poop. I probably wouldn't either if I were me. Oh, maybe this side. And there's other tracks here, but looks like you'll just probably see them in the camera as dots. But after the rains, after some moisture on the soil, it looks like two porcupines, one behind the other, just walking down the road. But from that angle, you're probably literally just seeing dots in the sand. Okay, I'll plug myself back in, and then we'll head on down the road. As those of you know, for the fireside chat, there's some of the tech guys here to make sure that we've got. Yeah, so Critter Freak is saying those are some gigantic footprints. Yeah. Well, the next one up is the eland, which is probably, if I had to say in human shoe size, it's probably about a size 5 for an eland. Giraffe is about a size 7 at least, if you put sort of a human shoe size. But yeah, no, big feet indeed. I was saying that the tech guys have been here to make sure that the fireside chat managed to take place. So we're getting some little improvements on the vehicle. Hopefully, already better comms, so we can communicate with you really, really well. Jackson is asking the question, how long does it take for the dung beetles to find the dung? They're actually pretty quick, especially if they've been flying around. They are looking for dung and droppings all the time. They've done studies in rhino middens or fresh rhino dung, and within 15 minutes they've had insects, including dung beetles, respond to those droppings. So it's like it sounds strange to call it a hot commodity or a fresh commodity, but the dung beetles, there's competition for that. It's probably not the nicest thing to talk about, having competition for, but the dung beetles, for sure, whoever gets there first gets their biggest pile of poop. So we're just heading out west now into the dunes. Maybe we are able to find one of those eland. Yeah, we're just going to carry on heading west at this stage.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Converging game path will invariably lead you to a water source, but treat all water as suspect. One of my favorite ways of purifying water is to filter out the particulates. And by just filtering it through your sock, you can clear out most of those. You can put water into a snail shell and you can boil it over a fire or using a chemical like chlorine or colloidal silver.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website, but once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite animal in the Kalahari has to be the aardvark. Its unique appearance, its ethology, and as well as ecology within this vast ecosystem is amazing, and something that I have been really lucky to experience on foot here at Tswalu.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to Tswalu, and we said we're looking for eland, and there's one. How easy was that? There's two just in front of us. They're still reasonable distance away, or more than two actually. If Morgan's got two in the camera that I can't see, then there's more than two. But that is much larger than the roan that we've just seen. An eland, young eland, anywhere up to 600 kilograms, anywhere up to a ton. So 1,000 kilograms or more, depending on their size. These look like mostly bulls, and they themselves will have, there we go, I think that's the biggest one. I think that one on the left, but he doesn't want to seem to, he keeps walking away from us. No, that's not going to help. He can see us, but we can't really see him. There's another one that's poking his head out. So this is, we haven't quite got into the dune street. We've got eland, we can see, or we saw, maybe I have to go forward for the springbok, right, Morgan? We saw some springbok, and we've also seen some gemsbok. So we're going to try and see if we can show you all of those. Hopefully the eland doesn't run away, but that's their nature. They do tend to do that. Oh, there's a gemsbok on the top of the dune there. So at 2 o'clock. In line with the... So always a challenge when they're all over the place. So... Oh no, you're kidding. Behind the bush. There he comes, I can see him, top left of the screen. There he is. He's going to come out into that gap over there. So, a beautiful gemsbok or oryx. Not that much smaller than the roan. They're also quite heavy, quite sturdy animals. Gemsbok and have very, very similar facial markings to the roan. That sort of black and white face mask. And he disappears behind the bush. We'll go forward because there's some springbok somewhere between the oryx and the eland, and the eland haven't actually run away. So let's see where the springbok on this side. Sorry, totally not between them, but looks like just three of them. So they're north of us. So, just very nice. Also, springbok also being mixed feeders, liking grass as well as browse. At the moment, they're focusing predominantly on grass. The grass is fresh and green, much better than some of the browse, and they'll tend to browse towards the winter season. Oh, wait, look here, Morgan, there's a wildebeest that's got red soil all over his face. He's at 1 o'clock. He's lying down. So I'm giving Morgan the real run around this morning. It's just as I see things. So he's there. He's having a good roll in the dust. Look at him. He is enjoying that red Kalahari sand. And he's doing that as an adornment to try and attract the ladies. So he's putting on his morning makeup. So look at that. And especially if the soil is damp. Let me just go forward quickly. You can see his bright red makeup that he's just gone and put on. So it's the soils are nice and damp after the rain from yesterday. So it's then sticky enough that it actually sticks to the face and the rest of him. And he just uses that as an adornment. It makes the females notice him. He's probably going to go and mark on the tree. Sorry, we're trying to get all the different views. Let me go forward. If there's a territorial tree, he might go and mark against that tree, sort of rub his face, rub his pre-orbital gland on that tree. Let's go there. That'll probably give us about his best view at this stage. Oh, and he's standing, staring at us. So he's just got to find. He's just got to find the ladies. He's even snorting at us. Good morning to you too. And go do your thing. No, he's not going to go do his thing. He's just going to carry on. So that was nice to see. Aaron, who is 8 years old, is saying they are such beautiful animals. Wildebeest, for me, are like the clowns in the bush. They're always doing strange and funny things, but it's nice to see him having an absolute sort of joy in that rolling in the sand, the nice red sand like that. We've crept up slowly closer to the eland, so we're just going to keep going. This is a smorgasbord of animals. What have we seen? We've already seen a gemsbok, a springbok, an eland, a wildebeest, and a roan this morning. That's impressive. What's next? That's quite a good picking. So I'm just approaching slowly. Mpo is asking the question, do elands ever hang out in mixed herds? Yes, they do. We do often find mixed herds, but then some of the younger bachelor bulls that are not necessarily dominant enough will form little bachelor groups, and that's also sort of a safety in numbers. But what I do... Oh, he's got a bit of a limp. Oh, shame. Oh, the others are running away, so he's at the back. They do have funny sort of pom-pom-like tails. Maybe we can see with this one when he's running away, you can actually see it's like literally just a little tuft of black hair on the tail. It's not much, but you can see there he's got a little bit of a limp. He's not really too enthusiastic to run, but he doesn't want to get left behind because the others are already moving off. So at a distance, a male eland, very thick horns. They sort of broad and sort of far apart in spread, whereas the females, the horns are longer and thinner and a little bit closer together. So he's definitely got a slight limp there. Oh no. Hope you can keep up. Oh. That bird shouting in the background is a northern black korhaan. Jerome has asked the question, can a single lion take down an eland? Now, I'm not too sure I've actually seen a single lion take down an eland, but now we must talk adult eland. So that full-size bull, I would probably say they would really, really struggle. But for any predator, it's how they manage to sort of attach themselves to the eland. If the lion gets a really, really good grip on the throat and he can throttle it that way, as long as the eland doesn't kick him off or he manages to hang on, then it is possible. I can't say I've seen myself a single lion, and I'd probably discount females and say maybe more towards a male. But certainly if the eland itself was smaller, then it is possible for a single lion to kill an eland. But if it was a bit smaller, I think taking on an eland on their own, yeah, I think that would be quite difficult. I mean, they don't even tend to take on buffalo on their own, and you can think that an eland is bigger than a buffalo. Of course, buffalo have got more of an attitude, and they are more aggressive, but, you know, trying to pull down an animal of that size could be quite challenging. So, yeah, I'd say not impossible, but not necessarily likely. I certainly haven't seen it. Carla is asking the question, does the dewlap serve any purpose? On the eland, it's twofold. The dewlap is helping them with temperature regulation or thermoregulation because it's a flap of skin that hangs in the breeze. So any sort of breeze moving over that will help reduce temperature. But then also, it's a signature or a sign of dominance amongst the males is how big that dewlap is, how dark the eland is, signals to them which one is more dominant than another. So the dewlap for eland bulls is sort of a visual thing. It actually makes them appear larger. So visually, who's more dominant? And then you often hear about this clicking in eland, whether, you know, there's lots of talk as to whether it's, is it the hooves, is it the knees? But it's actually when they get older, it's a tendon that as they move slips over their patella, their kneecap. And that slipping, that noise, that clang, clang, clang that it makes gets much louder when the animal is bigger and older. So it's almost like an audible thing amongst the males at a distance when they are walking. If their knees click, they can hear and determine how big and how dominant that bull is before they've even got there, based on that clicking sound of the knee. So it's actually the tendon slipping over the kneecap that makes that noise. I don't know if going forward, they just sort of a little bit too far in the bushes that either if I go forward or backwards, we're not going to get much of a view. But certainly one of the probably highly significant animals in the Bushman culture. We see it in the petroglyphs here, so the rock engravings. There's a difference between a rock painting and a petroglyph. A petroglyph is actually a chipped insignia in the stone, and we have petroglyphs here where they've actually chipped the shape of an eland out. And there's lots of spiritual connection with eland, and I think also just from a food source for them, it would have been a really, really good meal, and they would have probably been blessed if they were able to capture an eland, because that would provide the entire clan or Bushman clan with food. So certainly got lots of significance in the culture in these areas, and a lot of the rock art across southern Africa has eland as one of the major sort of either painting or rock engravings. Maybe also just revered purely for their size. I mean, that's probably shoulder height. The average person standing next to that eland, the eland at shoulder height may even be taller than a person. Let's not getting too much visual left there, so let's pop on over the dune and scan the next dune street and see what we get. Glenn is asking the question if only one earlant in the herd would breed, if I heard that correctly. Not necessarily. The males would have some dominance. They would compete with each other for the females. But actually, if I think about it, I'm just trying to see if there would be, maybe at the time the dominance would change and only the dominant male would get those breeding opportunities. But that's something I'd probably have to read up a little bit more about. That's a very good question. But I don't want to tell fibs. Let's see. Oh, we're looking for some birds as well. I heard that northern black korhaan, but he's too far away and he's not standing on his perch to see him easily. I can hear lots of eastern clapperlarks. They're busy this morning. They sort of they sit on a perch and they fly up. They have a little bit of a whistle. They go, and then when they get to the peak, they clap their wings together and descend down. So clapping, Steve is going to show us something now.
Hello everybody. Well, it's raining. And we found a beautiful flower. Now, bear in mind, everybody, at Valentine's Day today, there are flowers being consumed by the droves across the world. And when it comes to wildflowers, be very careful in your harvesting of plants. Flowers are very pretty and they serve a very important purpose from a pollination point of view. Can you get any more in on there? They serve a very important purpose in pollination and in the production of seeds for the plant. Here you can see on this beautiful Commelina, here is the yellow, which is the male parts, which is basically the pollen, which then gets attracted or stuck to an individual. And then underneath over here are the female parts, the stigma or the style. So that pollen gets transferred to that. So it's designed in a very specific way to attract an insect that's going to cover itself in pollen, looking for maybe some nectar in a way, and then transferring it to the female part. Once the female part is fertilized, then the ovaries obviously get fertilized, and then they produce a seed. That seed is then distributed in many, many, many ways, but it helps with the proliferation of the plant. And now this blue Commelina, or Mickey Mouse ears, as it's also known, he's got a little bit folded over here because of the rain. Can you see the Mickey Mouse? It's even got the nose. Mickey Mouse, the wandering blue Commelina. We also get the yellow one. And we've also seen a white one, which is a bit of a mix between the two. Very pretty. Very, very pretty. So this plant has actually been used. I wonder if I'm going to be able to use it on this one over here. I'm going to just pop that off there. Let's see if it's... I think it's past it already. But, yeah, it's past it already. But here is the flower has pollinated itself, and now there is the seed that is ready to do its thing. So that's the remnants of the flower on my finger. You see, it turns to pretty much nothing after fertilization, and the seed is protected in this little housing. Protected in there, and then after a period of time it will obviously go off and do its thing, either get eaten and transferred to another organism, to another area, and the reproduction of this plant is then complete. So when this is fresh and the flower is only just forming, you can actually squeeze it out and you get a little bit of a liquid, and it works very well as an effective eye drop or eye wash. When you put it in the eye. Tato, what causes flowers to be different colors? I actually don't know what the cause is, but the reason behind it is that they want to attract very specific organisms for their pollination. Flowers are designed to attract. The whole purpose of a flower is to attract. Grasses don't need to attract, they just pollinate through wind. Many of our old specimens of plant are all wind pollinated, maybe water pollinated, and there's no need for attraction. But flowers, and it's why flowers held such reverence in human society. We go all the way back to the Native Americans who held flowers, crystals, and feathers in high reverence, because all three of them, think about a crystal. A diamond was once charcoal. So it transcended and metamorphosized into something completely new. A feather from a bird was something that was walking on the ground. It didn't just get faster, it transcended and flew. And flowers were once a plant that just used to go, okay, I'm one plant, now I'm two plants, now I'm four plants. So the flower was this complete turnaround in the sort of plant kingdom from something before that was quite dull and boring to something that was magnificent. And I mean, today around the world, think about how much money is being spent on a flower. Think about that. So flowers, and this blue one, blue and purple are normally quite UV. Blue, purple, and white are normally sort of quite UV orientated for nocturnal organisms. And then yellows and oranges and reds are normally sort of also UV orientated, but for more diurnal, meaning day versus night. So it's very hard for me to tell you exactly what it would be that deals with this flower, but there's no long, strange tube. There's no weird sort of entrance. So some flowers are very specialized to be pollinated by a very specific organism, and that means that they don't want to waste their pollen. This guy, for example, is going to lose pollen to the wind, to the rain, to any insect that comes along. There's no specialization required. But some plants don't want to waste their pollen. They want a very specific organism to come along, drink the nectar, which is the treat, pick up the pollen and go to another plant and transfer pollen exactly to the species that they're looking for. And the reason I picked this one, because you've got to be very sustainable in flowers. This is a very herbaceous flower. It grows quite prolifically around the area here. Oh, I've actually got some of that, some of the liquid coming out of the base of the plant. It's very sticky. That is almost similar to what comes out of the eye drop. I haven't used it off of the base here before, so I'm not sure if that's going to burn. So be careful, but it works quite well. So it grows all over the place, so don't just run around picking flowers, everybody. That is a plant's livelihood, and especially some plants. You know, there's some orchids called 7-year orchids that flower once every 7 years. Now, can you imagine coming along and picking the flower of this one little orchid that's taken 7 years to produce a flower? Now, Beverly wants to know if it's got a smell. Let's have a little sniff, shall we? I don't think it does. You've always got to stop and smell the comelinas, everybody. Slight sweetness, very slight. There's a very slight sweet smell to it, but I think it's more of the color that's attracting. Can you actually see? Let me put it like that, or maybe you can get a more frontal look at it. You can really see the ears and the female parts are here at the bottom, and the male parts at the top there. Very pretty, isn't it? Very, very pretty. Okay, well, I'm going to put this flower back where I found it, and we're going to carry on down the road and see if I can find you that plant that I was talking about from last night.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa, and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing, and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January, so when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank WildEarth and Tswalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, that's a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam ops might disagree. Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth. Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Oh, I've got no comms. But we're live. And we have found a frog. We were actually heading back to camp because the rain got really, really heavy. We were on Chitwa, but it seems to be a little bit drier up here. I am not dry. But the rain has definitely eased off. I'm not sure what species this is. It looks young. I don't know if it's possibly a sand frog or maybe even a foam nest frog. I'm not sure. If any of you can identify it, do let us know. Now, frogs will not complain about the rain. They, of course, have a two-phase life cycle. Amphi to bios life. They have a juvenile aquatic phase, known as the tadpole, where they're vegetarians. And then, of course, they grow into terrestrial adults that are carnivorous. So it's a complete change of absolutely everything. And the metamorphosis itself is actually driven by hormones. And these hormones are in the pituitary gland and the thyroid gland. We also, as humans, have both of these glands. And think of a tadpole. They have tails, they have fins, they have mouth parts that are designed for a vegetarian diet. And of course they have gills because they need to extract oxygen from the water. They're aquatic, just like fish, they have to have gills. And if you think of the internal organs, the digestive system, that will be equipped for a vegetarian diet. Algae, yummy. I do love algae. You can actually buy algae jerky. Not beef jerky, but algae jerky. I'm desperate to get my hands on some. But anyway, and the transformation, the entire vertebrae, the entire skeleton is going to have to change in order to develop legs and the skeleton of a frog. The muscles are going to have to change. The tongue, eyelids, proper skin, an entirely different digestive tract capable of processing a carnivorous diet. Everything has to change. It's a very remarkable metamorphosis. And we talk about insects molting their skin and reptiles shedding their skin. But believe it or not, adult frogs also have to molt as they grow. But the best part is, normally the adults actually swallow their old skin once it's pulled free from the body. Yummy. Can't think of anything more delicious. But in some cases, the actual skin itself that's being shedded can provide a capsule, if you like, for the burrowing frogs, like bullfrogs. and this can help them overcome really, really dry conditions. Now that's cool. I think I'd rather utilize my skin than eat my skin. It is one of the most remarkable transformations in the animal kingdom. But the fact that they do rely on water, they do have that two-phase sort of life cycle, the rain will not bother the frogs at all. Safari kitty. Just turn my game drive radio down. I think it's very much dependent on the species. Very similar to, dragonflies and butterflies. The larger the species, the bullfrog, it takes a little bit longer. And for the very, very small species like the sand frogs, I don't think it takes as long. But I'm not actually sure. It's normally quite quick. I know this is terrible, but as a child in Scotland, we used to keep tadpoles. I don't know why. I'm not proud of this fact, but we used to go to the local pond, collect tadpoles and keep them. And very, very quickly you start to see the transformation. Of course, not many of them survived. I apologize, frogs, for that. But it's very, very quickly. You'll see the legs, the skeleton starting to change. You'll see a tadpole that starts to develop legs. The tail starts to shorten. So it's a very quick process. But I think it does take longer for the larger species. And of course, they have to develop those hind legs. Frogs are well known for the hind legs to be really well equipped for jumping. Just like grasshoppers, they spring. The power comes from the hind legs. And it propels them through the air. And they're able to leap very fast. And the front legs are actually equipped to deal with the landing. They're equipped with shock absorbers. They absorb all the shock from the land when they leap high into the air. Thank you, frog, for being so wonderful this morning. Stuck in bed, hello. Your name is exactly where I want to be right now, and now you're making me think of my bed. Thank you, stuck in bed. You think it's a foam nest frog? Possibly. I'm really not sure. I think due to the temperature, the ambient light, the rain, I'm actually not sure. Normally when foam nest frogs are on the tree, they're very, very white and grey in colour, but it's really tricky to see right now, so very, very possibly. You should never, ever pick a frog up if you can avoid it. If it's on the road or you need to get it out the way, you should just try and shoo it rather than pick it up. Their skin is extremely permeable, and this is to allow gas exchange, the absorption of oxygen. And therefore, if you touch it, we always have something on our hands, be it sanitizer these days or bacteria, even the good bacteria, and you'll pass it on. Erin, you are 8 years old, and you are asking about how does it stick on the leaf so well? Frogs actually have sticky pads on the end of my fingers. Have all pruned in the rain and very wet, but they actually have very, very large fingers and sticky pads, and this helps them grasp and stick onto the leaf. It has adhesive properties, and that's why they're able to do that. If you have a little look at an image or you Google a frog's foot, it looks very bizarre. They have very, very large tips of their fingers and sticky adhesive pads. You see that? You can actually see it. Davi's given us a little view. If you look at the end of their toes, you'll see a bulbous circle. And that's very, very sticky pads that help them stick on. But of course, it's a wet surface. The leaves are quite waxy, and it's now very wet, so that can't be easy. But this frog's doing a remarkable job. Moisture in water is actually a huge thing for frogs in general. And dehydration is a huge fear, as for most types of animals, insects. Reptiles are better equipped than amphibians are. And that's why they do have the soft skin to allow the exchange of gases through the epidermis, but also the exchange of moisture. They cannot afford to dry out no matter what. And that's why they're so susceptible to... Oh, well spotted, Davy. Hello, who are you? This hyena's hunting. Everyone, this hyena is hunting. How do we work this? Ah, here comes. Who are you? Is it Intima? My goodness, she's hunting. I'm not sure if it is Intima.
Might just have to reverse.
Might just have to reverse, okay. Let me just cover this monitor. Or Davy will shout at me. There's a lamb. She's going after a lamb. Actually, I'm going to turn around. Hold on. She's just behind you. See, don't know if it's Intima. Let's get a better look. She's going after the impala. She's coursing. This is hunting by coursing. If it is in teams. Perfect ears. It might not be. Hello. Good morning. No, it's not Intima. I think it's one of the males. Wow, okay. Let's turn around once again. The impala, of course, ran, but hunting by coursing means that you can cause panic. You can cause herds to split, and of course, little lambs get separated from their mom. This is amazing, considering how wet and miserable the day is. We can now finally show you a hyena hunting. If any of you ID that hyena, please help me out. Hashtag WildEarth. See, all the impala are panicking. Impala do snort sometimes for hyena, I've seen it. You know what, let's just stay here. The hyena went this way, but we can't off-road, I'm afraid. Definitely not in these conditions. So we're just going to have to sit tight and see if it comes back again. Wow, that was unexpected while talking about froggies. Let's just sit tight. The impala most likely will give the game away. I think that could have been Kaikau, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I saw the two loops on the right-hand side. It's not Intima. Intima has a big scar on her neck on the right-hand side. That's a really easy way to identify her. Okay, maybe let's go forward. This morning just keeps on getting wetter. Chris, you're saying it could be Kaiga. I think it was. I think it was one of the males. Once it got closer, I was able to have a good look. And this is perfect. I always talk about hyenas hunting. We just rarely see it. Rarely, because of the environment that we're in. It's far easier to see in somewhere like the Masai Mara than it is out here. But that hyena was hunting, 100%. Just similar to wild dogs, okay, they're not as elegant at running and they're not as slimline as wild dogs, they're maybe not as fast, but it's the same hunting technique. Even the Ethiopian wolf, course. Run after your prey, panic your prey, exhaust your prey, and you will get lucky. It's not like lions and leopards, it's not ambushing, there's no stalking involved. It's very wet. Jared, yes, they do. They can hunt cooperatively and sort of their clan members. But yes, it's also common for them to hunt on their own. They're actually very remarkable hunters, and it's just a little bit sad that they're not fully recognized for that. They're just recognized as scavengers. I'm going to turn around. And that's really unfortunate because they hunt, and they hunt well. I mean, we watched Swazi and Ndebele hunt the wildebeest calf one morning. We didn't see the takedown, but they're fast. Hyenas don't look like they will move fast because of that sloping sort of spine and those hind legs, but they really can move fast. And they've got stamina. They can just run and run and run and run. Okay, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pick up anything here. I've got all the flaps down, so Davi's vision is also blocked. We'll look around though. And hyenas eat very quickly, as you know. They just crunch through everything and swallow. That's why they always have those big tummies. They've got to eat quickly to make sure no one else comes along and steals. And it's getting very, very wet here. We may have to just stop driving for now. Our car is getting completely flooded. Davi can give you a view of Gowrie Dam and exactly how wet we are here. Okay, I'm going to stay dry and try and locate this hyena, but for now, over to Steve.
Good luck, Lauren. Well, we've put our bottom into the rain, and hopefully we will stay dry. But I've collected a few samples, everybody, and we spoke before about the grasses, how grasses are wind pollinated. Now we've got 3 grasses here. Here is the finger grass, which are very easy to identify due to the fact that it's got fingers. But all of our grasses have pretty much pollinated already now. So everything that you see on here is seeds. So let me just try break a couple off. Oh, that's not working very well. Okay, those are all little seeds there. You can see that they're little sharp little seeds that once broken off were probably attached to an animal's body that walks through. They might be eaten by birds, but they don't look very edible. They're just sort of sharp, jagged seeds that might even penetrate into the ground, but elevated off of the ground when they're pollinated. So the grass itself is wind pollinated. All those little seeds there will then do their thing and go back into the ground. Now, the next one on the right is a little bottle brush. You can actually see how easy it is to identify it as a bottle brush because it looks like a bottle brush, and that is the name of the plant. And if I grab this now, they're not quite ripe yet, but these seeds have got little tendrils on them. You can see it on my finger. All of these are like little awns. Each of those is a seed that will then be distributed probably by animal fur. Might even burrow into the ground. The little green bit is the seed, not quite ripe yet, with the awn that's designed for its distribution. So once pollinated, the seed has many, many different ways of being distributed. And then quite an important one over here is one we talk about all the time. This is known as the buffalo grass. And there's actually still flowers being produced on this one at the moment. You'll see, if you look over here, you actually see that there's the flower with a little pink. And the pollination is still busy happening. Once it's ready, and we've got 2 stages on this grass, once it's ready, it turns into these seeds that you see up on the top here. Okay, so the elevated stamen, or should I say the elevated inflorescence, elevates this high off of the ground so that wind pollination works. But wind pollination, everybody's very, very energy intensive. There's huge amounts of pollen that gets produced to potentially fertilize this one grass, but then distributed by birds. All of those seeds there are very, very tasty. I actually eat them. Those ones maybe weren't quite there yet, but very tasty. Then another flower altogether. This one's known as fertility grass, and it's actually got very sharp, jagged bits to it. Flower works. Don't even know how it works, but it's another different type, and it's got these little pink, I've never noticed this before, these little pink bits on the flower itself. So I don't know what pollinates this. It's a type of grass. It's a herbaceous grass. Little pink bits there. I'm not even sure what pollinates it or how, but it's very nasty to touch. It's quite spiky and quite unpleasant. So just there, 3-4 different grasses, very, very different sort of strategy for how they do things. And you can kind of tell through age that the plants have evolved with wind pollination, and wind is about as old as it comes. Grasses are all very, very old. Pine trees, conifer trees, also very old, all wind pollinated. And I'll show you in a little while. I've picked a couple of flowers, very sustainably from flowers that are many, many flowers occurring that have evolved with insects and then with birds. And then obviously the way that they distribute their fruit is also very, very interesting. The rain, she's coming. So it seems like Jared's going to stay with me with this, so we might as well just move on. Move on to the next level. Here we get our Wartheria. You can see the flower there. Very small little yellow flower. So yellow, daytime, who knows what exactly it's trying to... Can you go in a little bit more? Sorry, my friend. There we go. These flowers need to get really close up in there. So something will pollinate this. Now there's lots and lots and lots of organisms that utilize these dwarfarias, and you actually get praying mantises or flower mantids that hang out here on the flower itself. They look like this plant, and they actually use themselves as camouflage to capture insects that come to pollinate this. So not only is the plant evolved itself to be pollinated by an insect has evolved itself to look like the plant to catch insects that are coming to pollinate the plant. I find that absolutely fascinating. So this is also known as a snakebite bush or Wartheria. Okay, so there was no flower mantle on this one at time of picking. So I'm going to just toss this one away again because we've got more to show you. But we'll be coming back to some more flowers and plants while we stay dry because the rain is absolutely punneling down, and we're going to send you over to a very dry DEIRDRE OPIE in Tswalu Kalahari.
And we're back at Tswalu. Unfortunately, sounds like Steve's about to get wet, and Lauren. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. But we've got a little journey of giraffe. There's a few of them, and looks like mostly females. So we normally come across the journey and then we're like, oh, well, they're all males. But I can see 3, and they are all females. Straight off the top of the head, you can see their very, very thin, narrow ossicones, as well as sort of tufted hair on top. And always the lady's beautiful eyelashes. What do you think, Morgan? Forwards probably better because there were more that side. There's just a sort of half of a thicket in front of us. Just give us a second. We'll go forward. Oh, yeah, there's loads. There's another 3, 4, 5. I'm going to just go forward a little bit. There's another 5 over there. So we might be able to get you sort of 3 or 4 in the same shot. So they're busy feeding on these black thorns, and then there is the odd camel thorn mixed in between. So I think there's about 5 or 6 in that shot. There's some real sort of half-size smaller ones while Morgan frames up. There's definitely some really young ones. Their heads are just above the blackthorns. And the youngsters, it's a lot harder to tell if they're male or female because those horns are still, or the ossicones are always, it's horns by default, but ossicones are still busy developing. So the young males will also have lots of tufted hair. It's like the ones playing I Spy in the background there. So there are three there. One's down on the ground, not down on the ground, is eating low, and then there's the two that are staring at us. So that's three youngsters. But with the ossicones that size, them that height, they're probably sort of 2-3 years old already. They're not young giraffe. They're not sort of this year's youngsters. It takes them sort of 4 to 6 months before their ossicones solidify to the top of their head. Luke is asking, are ossicones part of the skull? They are. That's why they're called ossicones, is because they are solid bone and they're only covered by a layer of skin. With the females, more hair, and the males, because they're wider, the edge has got hair, but then the top tends to have like this hard cap on the top. But if you saw a giraffe skull, those ossicones form part of the skull. They are part of the bone. They are solid bone on the inside of those. So a horn, for example, in a gemsbok or an eland, there's a bony center that doesn't necessarily go all the way up the horn. Even kudus, that spiral goes pretty much almost to the top, is bone in the center, covered in a layer of keratin, a sheath of keratin, which is the same as your hair fibers or your nail fibers. So giraffe don't have that covered in a layer of keratin. It's just their skin. So that's why they're technically not horns, but a lot of people refer to them as horns, but you're 100% correct in calling them ossicones. And sort of anything ossi tends to refer to bones, like osteoporosis. Osteophagia means eating of bones. So anything with that sort of word ossi in it tends to refer to something with bone. We definitely have the attention of the three youngsters. The adults are not fazed by us at all. They're just feeding, but the youngsters are looking at us, staring at us. Sometimes the giraffe, especially young giraffe, they've got so much hair on the top of the head. It's like it's got a pom-pom. Apparently everybody's saying if it's got hooves, we're going to find it today. Well, we're running out of hooved mammals at this stage if we keep going. We've definitely hit a lucky street, for sure. We've just sort of chosen a direction that has had an animal around every corner, and we've had other days where we've even done driving segments for a while before seeing anything. So I'm just trying to think, maybe a zebra is probably the only one that we haven't seen yet, but those are generally quite tough. They're right down in the south where there's grass that they like, and in the time frame of the show, we're not even able to get that far south to show you the zebras. Sometimes in the mountains, but then sometimes there's always signal issues there. So we have both Cape Mountain zebra as well as the Birchall's zebra. We'll try. We'll see what we can do. But we've done eland. We go from the biggest. We've done the giraffe, then the eland, then the... Oh, we haven't found a sable. There's another challenge. Is a sable. And a kudu. That's the two maybe we haven't found this morning. Just always interested. JR is asking the question, at which stage does a giraffe start breeding? So they live till about 2023 is what their sort of lifespan is. But I'd probably say maybe females around about 5, sort of between 5 and 7. And you might find bulls have to mature a little bit more before they're going to be dominant enough to get that opportunity to breed with a female. But I'd probably say about 5 or 7, then they're sort of at their full size. I mean, they've got a lot of growing to do. They've got to grow into that neck, into those legs, into that body. Still quite a lot more to grow. And it's actually... once they are pregnant, it's a very long gestation period. It's a 17-month gestation period, and it's the largest calf born to body size comparative to the female. If you think a giraffe calf is born weighing close on 100 kilograms already, standing at close on a meter in height, and a elephant calf after 22 months is born weighing about 110 kilograms, there's just that sort of comparison. So the difference between 17 months, 22 months in between the elephant and the giraffe, but there's a 10 kilogram difference between the weight of the youngster. That's quite something. That's quite a mean feat, considering a female elephant 4 to 5 tons worth, and maybe a female giraffe 600 kilograms to 700 kilograms. So just sort of that. I know there's a lot of sort of facts and stats that came out there, but just think about that. You've got a 5-ton animal giving birth after 22 months to 110 kilogram baby, and then you have a 600 kilogram female after 17 months giving birth to a 100 kilogram baby. That's a lot, and I'm always fascinated as to where do you fit 4 long legs and 1 long neck in a tummy of a giraffe. That's always a puzzle for me. I'm going to try forward again, because I think that the light... Let's try forward a little bit more. Maybe that magical kudu and sable pops out the bushes. But we change the interest a little bit if we move position. So I can't even count. I think we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're at 10 at least. 11. That's what I can see. Hopefully I haven't messed this up, Morgan. I've brought us into a partial thicket. No, another little one's running away. Oh, maybe that was a mistake. Let's see. You never know until you try. They might pop out into the open, but there's at least 5 youngsters there. If I go further forward, then unfortunately the camera's straight into the sun, which makes them more silhouetted. But these are all youngsters. So by being sort of clustered together in a little bit of a journey, giraffe can come and go as they please. But you probably find this is nice for them. This is a sort of a social thing. They can grow up together. The young males can sort of play fight and learn from there. And then when they're ready, they'll go and try and find a bachelor group of males and change their status and learn better skills in order to fight and get that breeding opportunity. So it's never really easy. That one at the back's really tucking in. That bush is shaking. Tiffany is saying the giraffe are gorgeous. I couldn't agree more. I think I've never had a guest that hasn't wanted to see a giraffe on safari. It's certainly one of the top requests, and I think just such a significant even pattern in the fashion industry between the giraffe pattern and the zebra pattern. They're very unique. Of course, I'm talking the faux pattern. We definitely prefer the faux pattern, not the original. We'll leave them and we carry on heading. So now we're driving down one of our June streets. Let's see if we can find a kudu or a sable for you.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our WildEarth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. WildEarth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene, rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Well, everybody, the heavens have absolutely opened up on us right now. We're trying to do a flower segment and then just have a look at what's coming down from the roof. This is on the dashboard, and it is very unpleasant. You have a look at this. I'm just going to reverse back slightly so that maybe this will run off at a different angle so we can do these flowers. Because this is most unpleasant on my face. There we go. Oopsie. It's all about angles, everybody. All about angles. Come on. No. Back a little bit more. Just put the bum of the car up slightly. Well, look at what we're dealing with, everybody. It is cyclone season here in the African wilderness. Well, we're probably going to do this segment and then maybe one more with what I've got here, but then we're going to go home because this weather is just ridiculous, I'm afraid. So anyway, let's get back to the dashboard. So, some wonderful flowers. The first one we have on the left is one of the basils that we found out here, one of the wild basils. And you'll notice that these flowers here are long, tubular white flowers. So because it's long and it's a tubular, it's very likely encouraging. And bear in mind, here's the male part over there, and there's the female part over there. And the nectar is all the way down at the bottom here, inside the tunnel. Okay, so an insect with a very long nose or proboscis is going to come and put its body over here, its face, and stick a proboscis down to get the sweet nectar, which is the reward. And then at the same time, it's then going to move to the next flower and the next flower, and so carry that pollen from one flower to the next. So this is a very specialized flower, and because it's white, it's very likely used by moths because it would be a nocturnal utilization of that. So very specialized. And this basil with the seeds and the leaves are very, very fragrant. They smell beautiful. And this and the other basil that we get here are very, very good insect repellent. So you can actually crush it and rub it on the skin to protect you from insect bites. It actually works quite well. I've been thinking about getting a whole lot of carrier oil and then putting these basil plants inside the oil so that I've got a nice sort of organic insect repellent. Okay, so the next flower, moving on, is another very nice tubular flower. Bear in mind, all these flowers have been harvested sustainably, everybody. There's lots of them around. So here we've done this before, the large devil thorn. And deep inside there is where the pollen is. There's actually a couple little bugs inside here. But over here is male and female parts, or male parts. So something's got to physically climb all the way inside to get the nectar all the way at the back there. And I've actually probably got the flower upside down. I think the flower actually operates like that. So can you see the landing strip that we have in the front here? There's a landing strip like an aircraft carrier. Come on, land over here. And then in they go. Rub around inside there, get the nectar, get the pollen all over themselves, and then go rub around in another plant flower altogether. Okay, you can see how long and tubular it is. The nectar is all the way over there. Okay, so this whole tubular flower here is all designed to get something inside to transfer the pollen at some point here onto the female parts at another flower as well. So very, very well specialized, far removed from wind. You can imagine that this has taken a lot of evolutionary sort of adaptation to get to that stage. And being pinkish purple, you're guessing it's also a nocturnal sort of organism as well. Okay, now we've got another one over here, which I wouldn't even know how to tell you what and how something pollinates this. This is the, what's this called again? Poison apple. The poison apple. And this flower here is purple. And this is the male and female parts. I'm not really sure, but it's a very different and very unique looking plant, but doesn't look very specialized, although this actually can be pushed open. So I think something has to physically push its way inside there. Those are the male parts over there. So very specialized, I suppose, in its own right. And this produces a wonderful, see, there's even an insect there doing its thing. Produces a beautiful little cherry tomato looking fruit, which is actually poisonous. So don't eat it if you come across it. It will kill you, but it is very, very useful in the application of hemorrhoids. So it works quite well in alleviating hemorrhoids. And there we have a beetle or a bug doing what it does best. It's trying to get inside. So should we help it? Come on, fellow, inside you go. It's trying to get access. Okay, and then last but not least with regards to flowers, I managed to go and take one of our beans or peas. I'm not sure which one. This one over here. I'm not sure which one. And this one doesn't want to waste anything. So it's gone and closed up completely. It said, nope, I don't want to be wasted. I don't want anything to come and get me at night or in the day or whatever. I think is maybe closed because of the weather. Water's going to wash away your pollen as well, which means you're going to have to keep producing. It's a very expensive thing to produce. And so flowers have evolved enormous capacity to attract insects, some extremely specialized, some the ability to close themselves off altogether, some nocturnal, some diurnal, some are for moths and butterflies, some are for ants and beetles, and I think flowers are phenomenal and fantastic, and it is that reason why they've captivated the hearts of billions of people in the world. And so there we go. How wonderful is that? A little bit of a flower segment in the downpour, the deluge of Djuma. We thought we would stay out and actually be right in this, but the weather has just gotten unbelievable. So everybody, we might be able to do a couple more with regards to some seed pots, which I've got over here. Unless Jared wants to go away, do something else, which I think he will for now. We're going to go over to DEIRDRE and Tswalu, who I'm sure is not experiencing the same weather we are.
It sounds like Steve's braving out the rain at this stage to show you some flowers. Absolutely awesome. Happy Valentine's Day. Steve reminded me when he said he was talking about flowers. So yeah, while we were driving around earlier, we saw in this thick grass like this, we just saw a pair of guinea fowl and little chicks. They were like little balls of cotton wool. I only saw about 5, but literally stepped off the road and gone. So that's nice to know that the guinea fowl have got chicks now, and they'll start coming out quite soon. I can see as we go. We're going to go up and over the dune and see. We've got some very interesting cloud cover, just showing some high winds. There's some sort of cotton wool, or look like cotton balls. We'll get to the top of the dune, then we'll show you. But that'll show you some high winds and fair weather is always what they say when you've got those types of clouds. But we should get you. So this is one of those easy dunes. You just accelerate slowly and you climb up and over. A beautiful sable standing at the top of the dune would be really nice. But there you can stop in this gap. So I'll scan around with my binoculars, but Morgan can show you those beautiful clouds. They are little like balls of cotton wool. So show you that there's nice winds up there, but generally those types of clouds mean fair weather, which is what we are having at the moment. Everybody seems to be being affected by this cyclone off the coast. Oh, it's quite far. I see a raptor, but at this distance I can't even distinguish what it is with binoculars. So it's nice to see small clouds. Morgan and I have been seeing lots of dark clouds into the last few days. We're going to send you across to Pridelands.
Well, we are very, very, very lucky to be here this morning at the new Pridelands clan den, because we haven't actually been able to go live here, and very fortunate for us, we have 1 adult and 2 youngsters playing about out in the open, which is awesome. So I'm going to try and swivel, but not swivel too much. I don't want to upset any of the animals. It's also starting to pour with rain here. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and also I'm currently very tangled. I apologize. It feels like my neck is being readjusted. This is the problem with all of the cables. And like I said, we're here at Pridelands Conservancy, which is part of Tswalu Game Reserve. Much tangledness today. So we've got 2 different cubs. You can see the cub off to the right. That's now just going to after the stick. Doesn't belong to this female, and it's much older than the other. And hopefully we'll get an opportunity to see the den in the point where it's so active that, you know, a few more adults are around and all of the cubs come out. Well, I don't know how many cubs are actually here. The last time, when we first discovered this den last year, I saw 1 female with 2 cubs, and I think this might be one of the cubs here on the right hand side. This one doesn't look particularly old, maybe only about 3 months old or so. I would take a stab at guessing about that old. I'm trying to think. I saw them in December. Hey, it was in December. Was it with you? Yes. No, it was with Sebastian. I think it was around December sometime, just before I went on my long Christmas break. So it would make sense. And when I saw them, they couldn't have been more than about, maybe, if that, even 2 weeks. I think even younger, though. So it's so small and even still a little bit wobbly when they came out of the den. It was such a beautiful moment. But it is really, really great to spend time with hyenas. They're I know a lot of you that watch the show, it's one of your favorite predators. And it has been really great with WildEarth over the years of slowly chipping away at the bad reputation that unfortunately hyenas have been given. And if this is your first time watching, and maybe you've never seen hyenas before, well, be prepared to fall in love, because they are very comical and often entertaining. So the female, she's just got up now. Where are you going? It's starting to rain, like I said. The raindrops are getting much bigger. The clouds are getting darker and darker. So I think she's going to go and sit off and find a bit of shelter, and this might be the end of our sighting. Oops, a bit wobbly there. A couple of little depressions, but off they're going around the bend. Unfortunately, we can't see them right now. We can't actually get there. The other side, unfortunately, is very, very thick. We don't want to create another road. This is actually quite a nice little access point to view them, where they feel comfortable with us. I can actually see them. They're just walking straight back through the vegetation. Like I said, hopefully going to look for some shelter. If they've got up and moved, then I think that there might be some big rain coming. They're obviously much better at predicting the weather. But that was very nice to see. So awesome. I hope you got some screenshots. I'm going to try and compare the pictures, but I don't know where they are. They're somewhere on my computer with that female with the younger cub when I get home later today, and see if it is the same ones. I'd at least be able to ID the female, and if I do that, then we will have a confirmation that at least one of the youngsters have survived.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
And back at Tswalu, and there is Kudu. Check. We just ticking off all the antelope this morning, and this Kudu bull's. We're in the middle of the dune street, and he's up on the dune, so it's actually quite an impressive dune he's standing on. You can sort of get a relative size comparison. He's on the edge of the road, and we're all the way back down here. So, lucky we saw him at a long distance. He was in the road, and then he's made his way there. But we stopped and we waited. And if you leave them with a long enough distance, fortunately with the zoom on Morgan's camera, we can get in relatively close. And he's well aware of us. You can see just his body posture. He knows we're here. He probably can hear me talking. With those big ears, but he's been snacking on one of the creepers, so he does put his head down right low and grab off the ground. But just look at that solid neck. the mature bulls, their neck tends to thicken like that, so when they're wanting to breed, they can fight, and that sort of thickness of the neck is sort of an extra muscle attachment for those very heavy horns, and can help them when fighting other bulls. So 1 down and 2 to go. We've got Sable and Zebra. We still got left out of our list. So I'm going to try, I suppose we don't have to. I was going to say we'll try and go a little bit closer, but I know that if we start the car, we'll startle him, and then he might run off. But he's actually enjoying what he's found there to eat. So if they will use their hooves, and with kudu, with those nice spirally shaped horns, they'll also use them to hook branches and bring them and break them or bring them down closer so that they are able to eat them. So they can browse from quite a different height. There's quite a bit of a wind that's picked up, sort of channeling through the Dune Street at the moment. Everyone's saying I get 5 stars today. They can't wait to complete the list. Well, remember to press the like button as many times as you like. And it is just one of those days. It's just luck of the draw. It is safari. That's exactly what's just happened today. Is exactly what is. You can never know what you can expect on safari, and you've got to go out and try. And sometimes you never have a route plan. You just go, and you're just fortunate. So yeah, we are heading over the dune, and it sounds like we can send you across to Steve at Djuma.
Good luck, Deirdre. Well, we haven't gone anywhere, everybody. I've actually gone for a little walkabout in the rain to try and find you something I thought would be quite easy to find. But alas, I did not find any marula fruits, but we'll get to that in a moment. So we've got different types of fruiting bodies here, which different plants have evolved the strategy of. This is for the red bush willow. And the red bush willow, these generally stay on the tree for quite a good period of time. And then maybe after summer, maybe or autumn, winter, there's a fire. And then when the wind comes along, these blow along the ground quite nicely like a wheel. We call these samaras. Inside is actually a seed. Let me grab this one and see if it's actually ripe. It's always a nice trick to do if it is ripe. It's like a little game. It's not ripe. Later on, it pops open quite nicely, and there's a really nice seed inside. But from the red bush willow, we get the russet bush willow, which is pretty much the same very combretum-like sort of fruiting body, the 4-winged pod, and the same sort of story, very likely wind blown. Now, the difference between the two of these, everybody, is if you ingest these ones on the left, it could kill you. So stay away from the red bush willow. But the russet bush willow, if you make a tea out of these pods, just take the seeds out. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of hiccups. So be very careful. Now, how's this for another fruiting body of the large fruited bush willow? I wonder where it gets its name from. Same story, another 4-winged pod. Beautiful, isn't it? Huge pod inside there. The large fruited bush willow. So if this is blown around by wind, I'd be surprised, but it's possible. It's possible. I don't know how else it gets around. Maybe it's transferred via animal's gut. I'm not 100% sure. But then we get the next one, the purple pod over here of the silver cluster leaf, which is very boat-like. Very, very boat-like. And you can imagine with the runoff that we're having right now, out of seep lines where this plant occurs, these seeds actually get washed along the seep. They float, and a boat, obviously, as we all know, is designed to float on the surface. Another one, which has a very similar sort of strategy here, is the, what do we call it? The African weeping wattle, another boat-like shape. So see how the differences in all of these so far, but some similarities. Both wind there and water, very, very old strategies of distribution. But then have a look at this next one, the devil thorn. Have a look at this fellow. We've spoken about him before. Inside is a number of seeds, and the thorn there is designed to get caught in the foot of an animal or an organism that's then going to transfer it at a far or sort of semi-distance away from the parent plant. And then it remains inside this capsule until the rainy season, and then it grows once again. You can easily see why it gets the name devil, can't you? Okay, so, and then over here we've got the whiteberry bush, which has got wonderful, wonderful flavor. When it's white like this, it's very, very tasty, and I eat them all the time. There's a whole lot of little seeds inside, which is designed to go into the digestive system of a monkey or a bird or a paw, and then transferred away from the parent plant, and then those seeds are distributed through dung. I don't know if this plant needs the acid of a stomach to help it digest, but many plants have evolved that strategy that they actually don't germinate if they haven't gone through acid in the stomach. So many botanists or propagationists will actually use a form of hydrochloric acid in propagation when dealing with certain seeds. Over here then we've got a little a legume of sorts. I think it's one of our Indigoferas, which has got a nice bean pod, and bean pods are generally eaten by many organisms, and then inside the bean is transferred. It's actually a seed going through once again the digestive system. Some beans, there's a couple of beans out there that actually burst open on themselves and they pop and then they fly away, a term known as auto distribution, which is very, very cool. And then last but not least, I couldn't find an actual whole one, but I found two marulas that had passed through the bottom of an elephant, and there is the seed ready to be dealt with by a squirrel or ready to be germinated and grow back into a tall marula tree. So I hope you enjoy that little segment on the differences between just a handful of plants that I found here and around. And as the rain seems to subside for a moment, we're going to send you over to andBeyond Phinda.
Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome, well, very damp welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we have managed to find ourselves a little window or a little gap in the rain, and we've come out to have a look and see what we will be able to find for you this morning. And just coming out from the lodge, we found this really nice little dazzle of zebra with some impalas and some beautiful bird calls, and this group of zebras are having some pretty interesting interactions. So we're pretty excited that we managed to get this little gap in the rain. And my name is Grant, and behind the camera is Simon. And yeah, you can see how gloomy it is here at the moment. Go ahead, Matt.
I'll just talk to you like that.
Copy, thank you. So we're just enjoying, and I'm sure these zebras also are enjoying the little break in the rain, but it looks like it's raining almost all around us, so we'll see how long we're going to be able to stay out here for. But this group of zebras that Simon is on at the moment is a little bachelor group, so those are all stallions. And every now and then there's kicking and biting that happens, but for the most part they're rubbing against one another and actually grooming each other. And you'll see just in between the gap, or just behind them actually, there's a little stump, and when we stopped, there was one of them scratching against that stump. But if you look at the zebra on the far left, you'll see he's wiggling his tail, and he's actually missing the majority of his tail. He's just got a little stump left there. And you might straight away assume that it was taken off by something like a lion or another kind of predator, which is definitely a possibility. But there is another possibility, and it might have been done by another zebra. So these stallions are very competitive, and they will fight with one another quite a bit. And just as we've been sitting here with them, every now and then a little tussle breaks out and one will kick the other, or there's a little bit of a biting and wrestling match that happens. Now watch that one with the short tail. He might go and rub against that stump. There we go, on the nose and on the shoulder. I just find that stumpy tail so funny. Shame you don't have to feel sorry for Stumpy, other than the fact that he can't really swish away the flies. If he sticks around the other zebras and moves around enough, he will be able to keep most of them at bay. But I don't think it looks like it was quite an old thing that happened to him, but it does make him look a little bit different to the other zebras. Oh, did you see that kick? And if you go a little bit to the left, Simon, there's a little foal as well, which has actually been lying down. Lying down and resting, and now it's just gotten up and was rubbing against Mom. And as you can see, it's trying to suckle now. There you go. Seems to be getting some milk now from Mom. Well, thanks for the question, Ian. So Ian is asking how long that zebra foal will suckle for. And Ian, it's typically for about 4 or 5 months that it will, so about 2 or 3 months it will suckle exclusively, and then after that it will start to feed on grass like its mom, and will be slowly weaned off for another month or 2. So around about 5 or 6 months it will stop suckling altogether. So at the moment, just judging the size of that little zebra, I think it will have started to feed on grass a little bit. But I think the majority of its diet at the moment is still milk. But how sweet is it? Oh, and it's got an oxpecker harassing it. And the oxpecker over onto Mom. Amazing to see that little zebra standing next to its mom. And they're just giving each other a little bit of affection. Well, a nice start to our morning. Lovely to see all of these zebras and impalas all together. Some little impala lambs just running off at the back there. And actually a whole little nursery of impala lambs are lying down not too far away from us, with some of the moms standing up looking out for danger on the edges. But none of these antelope wanting to move very far. If you look at the area surrounding us at the moment, we're on the top of a ridge, and there's quite a good vantage point of the surrounding area where the zebras and impalas are. They can actually see over the edge where we can't at the moment. And when the weather is gloomy like this and there's a bit of rain and a bit of wind around, it hampers the antelope species or the prey species senses, and so they tend not to move so much. They tend to stay where they are, feed a little bit and rest, but mostly they stay on high alert, and that's because they know that the predators have the upper hand when it's windy and rainy, and so they'll be a lot more vigilant when the weather is like this. PJ is asking if zebras always stay with the same herd. So, for the most part, females will stick with the group, with the herd. So, a herd of zebras, a harem of zebras, will mostly be related females and their young. But young stallions, when they reach an age of about 1.5 to 2 years, about 1.5 to 2 years, they will be chased out by the dominant stallion, and then they will form bachelor groups like the one that we were looking at a little bit earlier. And then those bachelor groups will establish a sort of hierarchy amongst themselves. But for the most part, the harems that you see, the groups of females with one dominant stallion, those little groups are mostly related females. But what will happen sometimes is that the females will be almost like stolen from one harem to the next by a stallion, and he will try to keep them with his group. And so by doing that, by bringing other females into his harem, he will help the gene pool, so make sure that the genetics are diverse. He's not always mating with the same genetic line, because if he did, then there would be a very low genetic diversity across the zebras or across the family of zebras that he holds. So more especially if there's a herd of zebra or a harem of zebras that come close to another harem, and the stallions might go at it a little bit, but then go their separate ways, and sometimes the females will swap across the herds. All right, I think from here, everyone, we are going to go and see what else we can find, and you're going to go across to Steve while we do that.
Well, good morning, Grant. I hope you're staying nice and dry this morning. The culmination of our drive is we're going to be heading back after this because the rain has just become too unmanageable. But after a lovely morning of discussing plants and adaptations of plants and flowers, it is Valentine's Day after all. So together with all of the plants I've harvested this morning, a beautiful bouquet of wildflowers harvested sustainably from the African bush, sedges and forbs and some fruit for all of you beautiful ladies out there, and for all of you beautiful men as well. Valentine's Day goes both ways, so love to all of you on this blessed day. The rains are blessing the life on the Lowveld. We have managed to maintain lots of humor, and this little bouquet has cost us just a little bit of time. It started off with a few grasses, and it slowly developed as I've been talking. So to all of you beautiful souls out there on this Valentine's Day, this is my gift to all of you. Okay, well, we're going to slowly head home. Hopefully, we don't get blown off the road or sink into a sinkhole. And we'll send you over once again to DEIRDRE OPIE over in Tswalu Kalahari.
Tell me what Oh, so I've just dropped it there, but we brought it here because this is a question for the viewers. So it means we're gonna, whoopsie, sorry, I can't hear, so Morgan's gonna have to tell me the question. I'm not really plugged in or ears yet, just to give me a minute. So here's the question for the viewers. This is one of the antelope that we have not seen this morning. This is only one horn. This was from a bull. If I turn it around, you can see it's sort of a question mark shape, and the body is the color of the Kalahari. So there's your challenge. Morgan's gonna help me with what your answers are. I'm gonna leave this one here, and then we stopped here because we can tick the box if it counts. I'm busy walking there at the moment, but we saw these the other day, so if it counts, can I get 6 points for this one, which maybe the viewers can tell me what that one is too. So I've just added 2 more antelope species, parts of them should I say. But these are pretty impressive. I'm going to bring them closer to the camera. So, they're quite heavy actually. So I can show you, and we can maybe do a little bit of a comparison. Morgan, have you got any answers yet? So, nothing yet, okay. So hopefully all of you are seeing that that's a sable, and all of you are knowing that that particular one is a sable. Red hartebeest, you smashed it. So hopefully I can get 6 points, or I can get 7 points, depending on how you feel about parts of animals. But yeah, the red hartebeest horn I can only assume is a bit of a hyena takeaway, in that that one was literally just on the edge of one of the roads, and that sable probably died. Here, looking by the age, probably just natural causes. So there, I'm sort of connected, so if there are any questions, I should be able to hear what's going on. Lots of wires here. So the red hartebeest, and we say bull, both of these would be bulls, and we're just looking at the thickness of the horns here. Female red hartebeest would have much thinner horns, and so would the female sable. But I mean, just look at that in comparison to, that's really, really impressive. So a sable that's sort of sought after from the best sort of genetics is where these two are perfectly symmetrical and perfectly equal in length. But really, really impressive. But it always amazes me here is that here's their eye socket, and it literally goes straight into their nose, and then sort of their nose, so sort of a very blunt face. Very pretty. Rather large eye socket too. So these tend to become somebody's home. And you'll find often spiders and crickets and everything lives in there, and over time we don't see too much of it here, but the horn borer moths will lay eggs on that, and then the larvae will actually eat the keratin and slowly break it down over time. We don't see that here very often. Ours just the sunshine. So I'm going to leave the sable horns there, and we'll distribute this one back somewhere else. It will look really odd, rather odd, like it's been placed there. But that's a pretty solid. I can just imagine if they're fighting, if these hit each other, that will be quite hard. Let me just... we have a... I found this little chap earlier. While I plug in, then I can hear what's going on. There we go. I'm back plugged in that side. Stick the earpiece in. Oh, awesome. It sounds like Lauren's got something on the dam cam for you.
I have no idea how Steve is surviving, but we got far too wet. So Lauren is on the dam cam. There is someone that wants to say hello. Let's see how camera shy they are. Hello, Wally. He wanted to say hi to you all, my little assistant. I don't need Davy anymore. I've got Wally. Wally's going to operate the camera, so this should be interesting. But look at this poor water thickney. I mean, water is in this bird's name. I think this bird wins the competition for the most soggiest, miserable bird. I mean, there's not much that animals can do, especially birds. You will sometimes just see raptors taking the rein because they don't have much choice. You know, they're going to stay on the tree, and if they can get some shelter from the foliage, they will. But this water thickney, my goodness. It doesn't actually even look like a thickney because it's completely hunched up. Oh, yes, now you look like a thickney. The rain is torrential. I imagine Steve will be completely flooded, and I do see a pair of legs here. Oh, hello. More soggy wet birds. Now this, that looked like a flash. That's slightly worrying if it's lightning. But this rain on top of everything we've already had, on top of all the water, could get worrying. It will really affect us here. The dams are already very, very full. In fact, they're overflowing. And most dams do have an overflow. There sort of is an area around the dam that will allow for water to spill over and run into a drainage line or a river system or a mighty drain, some sort of conservation method or a natural sort of geological area that's already prepared for water. Most dams will allow that. However, the roads are going to suffer. We haven't off-roaded here in Djuma for a very, very long time due to the sort of weather that came in after the cyclone. But this is extremely heavy, and it looks like lightning, but I also could be imagining things. And apparently this is going to be here for the next few days. There's a lot of water. I can only imagine the winter that we're going to have coming is really not going to be dry or barren at all. But these animals are used to it. We're not. We seek shelter. We feel the cold. We feel the wet. But the animals, of course, they are used to it. Ectotherms will hide. Endotherms will have to continually sort of move a little bit, shake a little bit, get rid of the water, eat, continually eat, and move the muscles. Many of you can hear it. I think that's probably coming from the windows outside FC. At least I'm tucked up nice and dry. We can go out in the rain, but there's only so much our equipment can take. Of course, you can't risk destroying the equipment for future. And I wonder if Kai Cow got lucky. It happened right at the dam cam area. But of course, once they run into the thicket, we just can't follow them right now. We can't follow animals off-road. There's something relaxing about rain when you're inside, not when you're in it, that's for sure. It's quite rare to see the thickneys as one. Normally, you see many, many thickneys together. So I'm going to scan around the dam cam area, see what other wet and soggy animals I can find. But for now, over to Deirdre.
So, we're still on a mission to try and find you a live sable, of course, that would be nice, but Morgan did quite correctly point out, there's no T's and C's to our challenge this morning, so we feel like we've ticked off a red hot sable. We'll add Steve's zebra that he just found recently and say that now you've also seen a zebra on the show. So that still adds to the list at the end of the day as to what you've seen. But we're still on a mission. We're heading down the roads. There should be one of the dams at the other end. Maybe there's a sable there. But the sable tend to drink in the late afternoon instead of first thing in the morning. They are getting quite a lot of moisture from the plant material that they're eating. But so far so good. It's been a really fantastic morning, and we haven't actually travelled. We've sort of done lots of little figure of eights and loops through the dunes, and it does help when you've got all the species together in one shot. When we had those springbuck and eland and gemsbok and wildebeest all in one go, that's classified as sort of a slam dunk. We really lucky there. So, because we've shown you so many antelope this morning, you must vote on the chat stream down at the bottom, which was your favourite of the antelope that we saw this morning. If I had to choose, I would probably say the roan, because we don't see them that often, and he was quite nice and close. Morgan, if you had to choose? The sable. So just the horns. Morgan was like, "Oh, that's such an awesome ornament for my coffee table." I think was how Morgan saw those sable horns. I don't blame him; they were beautiful. So he was definitely at one point in time an absolutely beautiful sable. We're going to head around to the dam. Little, quite busy ant-eating chat there. I think I'm getting comms and then I'm not, so we just keep bumbling along. Oh wow, we're going to send you across to Phinda. That's what I heard at least.
Welcome back everyone, and we've managed to get a look at a female leopard. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to just see if you can spot any of her features and see if anyone is able to identify which leopard this is. She's lying quite obscurely with her cheek against that branch, not giving us too much of a view. And once again, just as when we were sitting earlier with those zebras and impalas, some really nice bird calls going on all around us. And from where we're sitting, you can actually hear a small stream that's flowing that does not usually flow here. Which at first I actually said to Simon, "Can you hear that, Simon? Is that rain?" Thought maybe there was some rain coming towards us, but it was so consistent, then I eventually worked out that it was actually a stream that has started flowing.
Closing down at Mountain Pass.
There's a beautiful bird call that you can hear, that sort of watery call. I wonder if any of you are able to identify that call, because that's quite a tricky one. There's quite a common one that we hear that sounds very similar, but this one's just got a slightly longer and more jumbled call. If you can hear that call, that's the one that I'm talking about. That one there. Beautiful call. So this leopard is fast asleep. She's found a nice dry spot up in the tree. I'm so glad. I must be honest, when I came out this morning, I was not even hoping to see a leopard this morning. So this is a real treat, and well done to all of you that were able to identify her as Ntabankosi female. And she's actually lying in a tree that I saw, that we've seen her mom in before. I'm just going to leave it for a little bit longer, but I'm going to go so long to the page of that beautiful bird call. And it's a bird that I actually haven't seen yet. So I'm desperate to see it. I know the call quite well, but it does tend to hide a little bit. So the call that you might recognize that sounds quite similar is just a very simple. That's the call of the bird that you might be able to recognize. And this one is just like that call, but slightly different. Just looking at the leopard now, her mouth is open and she's really hitting the snooze button at the moment. You reckon she's got hairy ears? She does. Now that you've said that, she's got really long, fluffy fur sticking out of her ears. Oh, that's a good feature that I will remember to look out for. And I don't know if any of the other guides have wished everyone a happy Valentine's Day. I hope you all have a great day with someone special today. So, oh, what a legend. Steve always making sure that you guys feel special. So I haven't heard any guesses as to which bird it is that is calling so beautifully close by to us. But I am going to ask Simon to just come onto my bird book so that I can show you. So that is the bird over there, the Eurasian golden oriole, and the bird call that it sounds quite similar to, that you will all be very familiar with, is the black-headed oriole. Oh, and in the book they say the call is mostly, well, it is a mostly silent bird, but the call is liquid whistling, "Who are you? Wila woo." Now that they've pointed that out, I guess I can kind of hear "Who are you?" Whereas the black-headed oriole's loud liquid, the kliu, that sound that we're all very used to hearing. But a spectacular bird, that beautiful golden yellow plumage, and the bright striking red beak with a red eye. Really stunning bird. And you'll notice on the map that it actually does occur throughout most of southern Africa, but it's seasonal. So, of course, from October through to about the end of April, it can be seen on the African continent. And that'll be a non-breeding migrant. Stunning bird and a stunning call. Oh, and I must apologize because we've missed a little bit of movement on the leopard. She's just repositioned. I think she was just falling off. And a long tail hanging down. So there's about 3 or 4 different species of tree that I can see all tangling in amongst one another there. So it is quite a tough view, but I think we've got a perfect little window to see her at the moment. But that thick tangled cover will be exactly what she's after, trying to get out of the rain. And her eyes are open now. You'll notice if you look at her belly that she is still quite full, and so she was seen feeding on an impala that she caught. It was about 2 days ago, not far from here at all, from this tree that she's in, about 200 meters away. But she was finished with that, I think, 2 days ago, so she's still running on that. I'm not sure if she caught something since then, but we've seen her a couple times hunting. But at the moment, with all the rain we've had, we haven't been able to follow her off-road. So when we have seen her, it's been on the road or crossing the road, or like this, up in a tree. And then as soon as she moves off into the bush, she's gone. So we don't have a clear idea of exactly what's been going on off in the bush. But she's been moving around, and when she is on the move, what we've noticed is she's scent marking heavily. And so, yeah, showing signs that she's really starting to claim this area for herself. But for now, we are just going to enjoy the views of this leopard, and I'm going to do my best to try and spot that oriole.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
This is the first leucistic zebra I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, here comes a lion. Run, little guy. Go on.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Has it just pretended to be dead? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle!
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Djuma River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Look at that little zebra about to be born. There's the head. Oh, you clever mare. Well done.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
So we've come to one of the little water holes and we found a beautiful pair of South African shell duck. So they're just busy grooming at the moment. They've been sort of stretching, doing some little bit of morning yoga. That one is the male. The male's actually less sort of wow, if you want to call it, in sort of feather, plumage and coloration relative to the female. So the one with the white head, that one, is the female. And there's a reason for it. In the birding community, often if the brighter coloured, prettier one is the one that would initiate the mating. So with the shell duck, it's actually the female that does sort of the courtship to the male. So she's actually, I feel, she's prettier than the male. And it is unusual. It's not common amongst the ducks. But the shell duck also quite interesting in that they nest quite far away from water. They can nest anywhere to a couple of 100 meters to a kilometer away from water in a burrow system. So here in the Kalahari, a burrow system will help with the temperature, keep a nice consistent temperature. And they tend to sort of nest late winter. So inside a burrow system will be nice and warm, and then as soon as those little ducklings have hatched, she'll walk them, the pair will walk them on alert all the way back to the closest waterhole. So just beautiful, just feather maintenance is very, very important in birds. They're just fetching oil from the preen gland at the base of their tail in their beak, and then just sort of moving all their feathers through that. It is also essential for their waterproofing as well. It allows them their waterproofing and partial buoyancy on the water. So just really, really pretty ducks. Jerome's asking the question, do all birds have a preening gland? Off the top of my head, I want to say yes, but in the back of my head, something is saying there is possibly not, because I know the darters don't necessarily want to preen too much because they want to go underneath the water surface. So I want to say all birds have to maintain their feathers somehow. But I think there might be an exception. I don't know. What do the viewers think? I think that there is an exception, but I'm not 100% sure. But for certainly anything that needs to fly, a preen gland is essential. And, oh, we've got somebody else that's made his way to the waterhole. We can... he's looking around. There he is. He's just sort of been sneaking in from the left while we weren't even watching. He's feeding on some of the... on a acacia, on a camel thorn. Well, I call them acacias, they've changed names now, but... a camel thorn. And we're hearing lots of birds making noise in the background, so the ambient mic should be picking up the activity of the sociable weavers. There's pretty much a nest right next to us and they're making a lot of noise. But I see two little namakwa doves have just come down to drink. They're quite pretty on the edge here. One of them's left. So, yeah, the sociable weaver is always busy. I believe you can actually hear them. They're constantly making a noise. But that there is an Amakwa dove. Very slight little thin, small dove in comparison to the rest. Okay, so the answer, and thank you whoever found that, is that a Kori bustard doesn't have a preening gland. Well done. So from myself, Steve, Lauren, a cameo from Pridelands and Phinda, thank you very, very much for joining us. And join us again this afternoon on our sunset safari at 4 p.m. Central African time.